right? So this is the first one, which is called service registry. Wherein the second one is called, 1 minute. Circuit breaking. Yeah. So the second one about circuit breaking. Majorly, this is the one which will prevent the cascading failures by breaking circuit and enable applications to continue functioning. So that if these functionalities were interconnected, the major disadvantage is that if the functionalities was interconnected, if there are any changes to be made in the specific functionality which is in long in terms of the functionality is concerned, this is really difficult for us to make any changes in between, because continuity of functionality, if it was not breakable, right? So if it is not breaking into multiple parts, it impacts when we are making any kind of changes and all, it impacts more on the application. So whenever we are working on the design pattern, which is called service breaker pattern, majorly it is the one which majorly used to prevent the cascading failures, wherein whenever we are enabling applications for continuing purposes, because some applications and the functionalities when we are developing the business logic is a continuous process, because requirements we used to get in regular intervals, there are some constant changes to be made into the existing functionalities, where we have to make some changes in regular intervals, right? So that is something which we have to be do with, right? So in this grounds, in this aspect, so this design pattern in reference to the microservices is something essentially useful, wherein it will be useful for us to handle the kind of faults which are occurred in the microservices architecture. So because as the functionalities are breaking into different parts, right? So it won't get impacted with other component, right? So the other functionality. So that sort of advantage where we can see, especially in reference to the circuit breaker part itself is concerned. At the same time, it is also useful to act as a safety net between client and services by protection, wherein data transformation, when the data transformation has been taken, wherein it will be safer, because the impacted changes, whatever we are changing, we are making some changes, or whenever we are working on some functionalities in terms of the changes we are addressing, it will not be impacted in other functionalities, whatever we were continuing there. Right? So this is one of the advantage where we see in reference to the circuit breaker pattern is concerned. Along with this, one more advantage is to monitor the status of the service, so that people who are working on that particular service, they can monitor status, right? So because they come to know about the status of the service which we have enabled, so that we don't see any kind of communication gap among the services, what is that we are addressing to the customer end of the day. Right? So because it has to monitor in such a way where we have to evaluate the performance of a particular service. Hence, it is there shouldn't be any kind of chance to have a communication gap among these. Right? This is what something which we have to see with, right? So this is where generally circuit breaker pattern is all about. So when we are talking about the second design pattern, especially on microservices, circuit breaker pattern is also one of the second design pattern which normally we use in microservices. Whereas when it comes to the third one, which is called API gateway pattern, right? So that we discuss in the next session.